Chapter 19. An unexpected development. It was a good moment. It was a very good moment with Hiccup perched up high on the back of the Dragon Furious, looking down on the Berserks, suddenly turned so small and so weak on their shaking rope bridges. For their part, the Berserk looked up in awe and absolute astonishment at the mighty dragon hovering above them, the tiny little figure sitting upright on its back. "Halt!" yelled Hiccup, raised his hand at the third. "Halt! The beast of Berserk is now under my power and control. Do what I say, or else with one lick of his flames he will turn this whole wood into fire and inferno." The Chief Berserk's mouth fell open. "The beast," he whispered. "I don't believe it. The beast. How did the boy do it? Is he magic? He must be magic." Alvin couldn't believe it either. He had turned as white as his teeth. "How does he do it?" he muttered. "How does he do it?" "Release the fiancés!" yelled Hiccup. Horrendous had at the third. "Winch back fish legs! Release all the prisoners held in the tree prisons! Release them, or the dragon will set fire to the village." "How does he know about the tree prisons?" gasped the Chief Berserk. "We will never surrender!" he yelled, shaking his fist up at Hiccup and the Dragon Furious. "We have fire suits, you know, and we are nutters." "We certainly are!" yelled the other Berserks on the bridges. It was fortunate that Kamikaze intervened at this point, because Hiccup had no real intention of setting fire to the forest. But Kamikaze had wriggled along her tree branch until she was directly above the chief, and now she dropped down like a little cat, timing it perfectly so she landed right on top of him. The chief wasn't expecting a small blonde child to drop it unexpectedly out of the night sky and hold a very sharp knife indeed to his throat. He let out a strangled scream. "Listen here, you plankton-brained, clanking howl of a loser," whispered Kamikaze. "Unless you do exactly as Hiccup says, you won't need a fire suit, because I will kill you right now with pleasure, and you can trust the word of a bog burglar on this one." The chief grew thoughtful. However nutty he was still rather keen on making it through the morning alive. "Don't kill him unless you have to, Kamikaze," Hiccup called out. Good old Hiccup. "Oh, but I may have to," grinned Kamikaze. Kamikaze had been the most difficult prisoner the chief had ever had. Despite being so small, it had taken 5 grown ugly thugs to capture her, and she had been so rude when she arrived on the island that she had made one of the Berserks cry. The chief had a horrible feeling that she meant exactly what she said. "On second thought," said the chief with an apologetic cough, "perhaps you have a point. Everybody do what the red-haired boy says." Now, the Berserks may have been nutcases, but like all the tribes in the archipelago, they were obedient to their chief. So there was pandemonium on the rope bridges as the Berserks galloped, clanking like a load of metallic elephants, to all of the prison cells all across the island, and you had to hand it to the Berserks. Once they were given a task, they executed it. Very faithfully indeed. They had spent the last 100 or so years guarding those trees. Not a single prisoner had managed to get out in that whole time. Every Berserk would happily have laid down his life to prevent an escape, but now they went about releasing the very same prisoners with the same mad keenness and energetic efficiency. If a prisoner was too weak to climb down the rope that was let down into the tree, the Berserks actually descended the rope themselves and brought the prisoner up in a fireman's lift on their massive shoulders. Some of the poor prisoners had been in there so long they had forgotten what life outside was like, and they did not want to leave, but they were given short shrift. "Everybody out!" yelled a massive Berserk, shouldering a poor, shrinking old man who had forgotten his name and what tribe he was, and he did not want to leave the tree frogs who had been his friends for the past 60 years. "Boss's orders! You're all to leave on the double!" So before long, the rope prisoners were packed with lines of confused, shuffling prisoners in rags, some with renewed hope in their eyes, others scared and apprehensive, all blinking in the unaccustomed daylight. "Unlock them!" yelled Hiccup as the Dragon Furious hovered above the scene of chaos. "Unlock them and set them free! They're dragons as well." So even the chicken boxer and the windwalker were unlocked from their chains by the eager Berserks. "Do you want to know how old I am, you iron-clad ignoramus?" smiled Kamikaze, still holding her knife to the chief's throat. "Not particularly," said the chief of Berserk. "I am 11 1/4, grinned Kamikaze, "and even though I am, of course, the toughest and most brilliant 11-year-old in the archipelago, how good does that make you feel, a great big let's-go crazy warrior like you, to be beaten in battle by a titchy, witchy little 11-year-old? Well, very good, actually. The chief of Berserk felt a little like crying himself. And once the fiancés and the prisoners were set free, of course, they grabbed any weapon they could find, and a pitched battle ensued between fiancés and Berserks, a battle that is known in the sagas as the Battle of the Treetop Madmen. The Berserks going crazy is an incredible, awesome sight. They swung through the trees, brandishing their swords and cutlasses, and snorting and roaring like wild animals. Some even foamed at the mouth. The fiancés had a well of a time, but they were all very fine swordsmen. First fiancé, take that, you hairy, jangling buffoon. Take that and that and that. Second fiancé, oh, I say, that's a fine deluxe lunge you have there, old boy. You must teach me the trick of it. First fiancé, oh, no problem. It's just a dexterous flick of the wrist and... Berserk, ooh. Berserk, chewing his own arm in irritation. Will you concentrate on me for a second? First fiancé, good gracious, is that a lesser spotted squirrel serpent over there? There they all are. I love them. Berserk falls for it, and the fiancé pushes him over the bridge. Sometimes the old ones are the best. Kamikaze alone managed to dispatch 3 berserks, a fine total if you consider the awesome fighting skills of these extraordinary warriors. But of course she had the advantage of dropping down on them from above, which gives an element of surprise. That'll teach you to try and trim the wings of a bob burglar, yelled Kamikaze with relish. Humongous, of course, fought like a flash master, taking on berserks 3 or 4 at a time and beating them in style. When Hiccup saw prisoners from the tree prisons walking into the berserk village, free at last, he let out a yell of pure glee. He couldn't believe it. Not only has he defied death himself, but it looked like he had saved the whole lot of them. He should have known not to rejoice too soon. He should have known that the moment of greatest triumph can also be the moment of greatest peril. Hearing Hiccup's cry of relief at seeing the prisoners set free, the dragon furist gave a shrug of bitter malice, and then he threw back his head and sent a great burst of flame shooting straight at the forest in direct defiance of their agreement. The whoop of joy died on Hiccup's lips. Oh, he's not keeping his promise. The flame hit a particularly large tree, which exploded on impact. Exploding fire, Hiccup had never seen that before. What about your promise? Shrieked Hiccup as the dragon made a lazy revolution in the air and swooped downwards for another attack. No fire, no fire until you leave the archipelago, you promised! As if in answer, the dragon shot out another downward rocket of flame, and another tree exploded, and the fire spread quickly to the nearest tree, very next tree, which went up like a candle, and the drenching sparks that shot upwards into the night sky were like the burning remains of the dragon's worthless promise. Toothless told you not to trust him, said Toothless helpfully. You promised, whispered Hiccup, you promised. You have to have a heart to make a promise. Oh dear, said the ground dragon, and my heart was broken long ago. With the half that's left, I'll keep half my word. For 1 year, I will stay away from the archipelago. 1 whole year is all I will give you. Boy who has a name I once loved, and then after that I will return and I will make you a new promise. Hiccup was sure it wasn't going to like the new promise, and he was right. The new promise is I will return, and this time the dragon rebellion will be successful. We shall scourge this world with fire and leave no wretched human being alive, not a single one. Oh, for over the last 100 years I have been looking into the past and into the future, and I tell you this, boy, humans and dragons cannot live together. The dragon's words, dark, terrible ones, hissed out above the roaring of the wind around Hiccup's ears. No, shouted Hiccup, that's not true. Hiccup Horrendous Haddock II did not believe that, and nor do I. Hiccup Horrendous Haddock II is dead, said the dragon, soaring higher and higher. Look down, boy, look down at the real world. Hiccup looked down at the little sprinkling of green islands and a blue sea below him. In this world, continued the dragon bitterly, my dragon brothers are everywhere in chains. Humans are enslaving us like dogs. They are riding us like horses. They are removing our fire and clipping our wings and breaking our hearts. There is no longer room in our pleasant planet for dragon and human, said the dragon. And now he just sounded infinitely weary. And when I look into the future, I see we are running out of time. I also see that if I do not stop you, you, Hiccup, will be the end of us all. You will send us into our final oblivion. Who, me? Squeaked Hiccup. But I love dragons. You've got this all wrong. If you grow to manhood, that will spell the end of us, repeated the dragon. As I recall the dragons from far and wide, from the depths of the ocean and the ends of the earth, and we shall fight the final battle before it is too late. No, yelled Hiccup. No, no, no. At the top of his swoop, the dragon furist tipped over into a barrel roll, and down, 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 Hiccup fell from the dragon's back. And then the dragon furist spread wide his rugged wings and flew off towards the frozen north. And down, down, Hiccup plunged, shrieking, no, no, no. He barely knew what he was saying no to, whether it was to the idea that humans and dragons could not live together, or no to fate, or just to gravity itself, which was taking him inexorably downwards. There he is. Oh, and next chapter is called This Really Had Been a Very Bad Night.